Welcome to Tech Transformation with CGT and RIS News, where we explore the innovative tech strategies and trends in retail and consumer goods. I'm Lisa Johnson, the Senior Editor at CGT. In this episode, I'm talking with Bill Shube of the Lego Group and Gib Bassett of Alteryx about keeping your tech teams flexible during times of disruption. Now, Bill's here to talk about how Lego has done just that, and Gib's going to share some insight on why this is so important for consumer goods companies and retailers right now. And for those who are watching the tech transformation videos, you can see I've decorated my bookshelves with some Lego creations. I am part of a very big Lego family. For those who are listening to the podcast, I encourage you to go to consumergoods.com or risnews.com to get the full effect. But for now, Bill, welcome. Really excited to have you here. Get us started. Tell us just a little bit about yourself and your role at the Lego Group.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lisa, and thanks for the decorations. We always love to see that. I've been with Lego Systems for about 10 years now, almost exclusively in an analytical capacity in our supply chain operations in the Americas. And currently I'm the senior manager on the supply chain operations, technology, and analytics team in the Americas region. And our job is, as it sounds, it's an analytical role, but not just focused on pure analytics. Our job is really to create automated analytics, automated business processes. Analytics is important, but our job is also to ensure that we get efficiencies where we can, and remove kind of the mundane, time-consuming tasks that everybody has on their plates.
Sure, certainly know I have quite a few of those on mine. Gib, welcome. Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I also want to know, Gib is a member of the CGT and RIS Executive Council, which is a forum of industry innovators who work together to drive impact across the industry and provide perspective for the CGT and RIS team. So Gib, welcome. Really excited to have you here.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having us both. Appreciate it. So my name is Gib Bassett. I'm a Solutions Marketing Director with Alteryx. My area of coverage is our applications of the Alteryx Analytics Cloud in supply chain. And I've seen and I've heard Bill talk about the application of Alteryx in his business in the supply chain. And it's a very interesting story. And I thought people that would see this would greatly benefit from hearing more about his story, particularly as it relates to figuring out how to be productive and get stuff done quickly, in light of other priorities within an organization, particularly from a technology perspective.
Sure. Great. Well, I think this is also going to be incredibly valuable. So let's dig into it. So, Bill, we're going to talk about IT flexibility. I think we need to talk about why this became so important to Lego. For Lego, what have the last couple of years really been like with people at home so much? What's been the impact on your company and on your IT organization?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with kind of the overall picture of what happened when the pandemic struck. A lot of parents got stuck at home with their kids, right? And they were trying to get their work done, and they had no childcare or limited childcare. And so, what as a parent do you do in that situation? Well, no surprise, a lot of parents bought their kids Lego sets, and so demand just shot up, drastically and unexpectedly. And it got to a point where it was outpacing our ability to produce. It was outpacing our capacity, and the demand also just really never settled back into its previous levels. And so, from a supply perspective, from our organization, just really stretched our ability to supply goods to our customers. We faced a lot of out of stock challenges, fill rate problems, and this laid bare a lot of the shortcomings that we had in the organization, on top of, which we already knew about, and on top of, now having to learn a new way of working from home, working remotely. We weren't really good at that when all this happened either. So between that, we had a lot of manual processes, which came with a lot of Excel work, and we were, our business was growing, and our ways of working, because of all the manual work, just it wasn't scalable.
It's interesting that you say that things haven't gotten back to normal since then, even though people are certainly out and about more. But when you look back on the last 2.5 years, what are some of the most significant changes you can point to? Is it kind of hard to recognize the organization that you once were?
I wouldn't say that it's hard to recognize what we once were, but I would say that the path that we're on now is new and it's different, and I think we're heading in the right direction. We always knew that that our processes were too manual, our systems weren't really supporting us the way that we wanted them to, and we've tried to address those problems in the past, and we never really found the secret formula to solve those problems. And and now I think we're getting there. And Alteryx has, I think, is playing a part, at least from my side of things in supply chain. I started working with Alteryx back in 2019. I'd been tasked with just creating some reporting, basic reporting, and our old way of doing reporting was try to cram as much information you could in Excel and hope it doesn't break. And right, and that's you can't keep running your business that way.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. I hear that all the time. And so I landed on Alteryx, and I was one of the first users at the company to adopt it. And within weeks, maybe a month or two, we could really see just the potential. Of a low code tool to, how could benefit us, and so over the course of from 2019 through the pandemic, we started working with it more and more. We got more adoption, still just within our supply chain ops Americas team, to the point where now we've officially formed the team that I'm on, technology operations, technology, and analytics. We just formed in April. And I said our mandate is analytics and automation, and and that's new, and this low code tool is really critical to our ability to execute on that, and it's led to a lot of these changes. Our process of learning through working with Alteryx. In the past, we had very few dedicated analysts, and the only tool they had was Excel. If you were really good, you knew how to use Access, and that was like, wow. And these analysts would report to functional leaders, so there wasn't a lot of coordination between what they were being asked to do. It was whatever the leadership, their particular leader needed. And now having this central team of supply chain analysts in our operations team, so central but also local, because we are a regionally based team. I think that's been really important. We've got a team focused on supply chain operations problems, not just the functional problems of the leaders, and we've got a better set of tools. And it's not just Alteryx, but that really is kind of, I think, one of the core enablers of what we're doing.
So kind of getting to the topic we talked about at the beginning, how are these changes, and it does sound like you're making some pretty significant changes, how are they helping your teams be more flexible?
So this is, it comes down to our ability to execute this low code analytics, right? We don't have to wait for IT anymore. They've always been a bottleneck, and it's not their fault. Like, there's so much that needs to change, and you just can't hire enough IT engineers to make those changes. And so Alteryx has enabled us to take on more of the development work that we need. That if we didn't have this, we'd just be sitting on some backlog for months, years, potentially. The way I think of it, I think many of your listeners have probably heard the phrase citizen data scientists. We've become citizen data engineers, and to do a lot of the things that we want to do to improve our business, we no longer need the coding skills, the engineering skills that used to be required, that we used to have to go to IT for. And to be clear, I'm not saying that we don't need data engineers, or IT. We definitely need them, but the division of responsibilities between IT and the business is shifting for the better. In the past, if we needed a new tool or something to be developed, we'd go to IT and we'd ask them to develop pretty much the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. We'd say, here's what we need now, and we'd try to describe it as best we could, and they'd go off and try to figure out how to do that. And that was never a good way of doing things, because they don't understand our business. We understand the business, and now, contrast that to now, we can just go to IT and say, just get us the data. Give us access to the data, build some pipelines, and we can do the rest. We can model the data together ourselves since we understand it better. We know how to interpret it. And we understand what our end users need because we're a local team, and we're right next to them all the time.
I imagine the previous way of doing things bred a lot of frustration. Gib, I want to bring you into this conversation. A lot of what Bill's saying, it sounds so easy, right? So kind of wonder, why aren't more companies doing this? Why isn't everyone doing this? So in your experience, working with Lego, but also working, you work with a number of consumer goods companies and retailers. Where do you see these companies struggling the most?
Yeah, I think Bill's example, I think, is one that other companies can think about and look at and potentially model. It's very interesting because what Bill's example shows is the struggles that most organizations have day to day, and what the pandemic did is it really accelerated the necessity of the analytic workers that are embedded in the business to really be able to pivot and help the business, on very short notice in ways that typical IT and data management organizations simply can't support. And so it lays bare, like he said, this gap, and no code analytic tools like the Alteryx Analytics Cloud help fill this gap and help facilitate that collaboration that needs to happen between those analytic workers in the business and those in IT. And this also dovetails really nicely with the trend that was talked about in the Unite Analytics conference a couple of weeks ago, that data science and advanced analytics functions are being built in consumer goods and retail organizations, and they're being led by chief data and analytics officers. They really need to rationalize the work that they're trying to accomplish in things like machine learning with the analytics of the business, the operational day-to-day decisions that need to be done very quickly on short notice, and things like Alteryx help fill that gap. So it really is about trying to negotiate and collaborate, and it comes down to ultimately kind of like a human to human kind of issue, that people need to talk to each other. They need to understand that division of labor, that it's not just my job or your job, that it's analytics is a team sport, as a lot of people talk about.